Our friends at Manscaped are turning their men's shower dreams into their favorite routines. The ultra premium new collection is an all-in-one hygiene, skin, and hair bundle.
It's designed to upgrade your shower from head to toe. Using Manscaped during my showers after workout has given me much more confidence.
The shower routine uses all the collection's products. You start with the cologne-infused ultra premium body wash. You'll smell so great, all the ladies will be after you.
Next, you apply the 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner that cleanses.
Once you hop out the shower, apply the Manscaped aluminum-free deodorant. If you have tattoos or dry skin, hit your skin with the hydrating body moisturizer spray.
Last but not least, check out the Lawnmower 4.0 electric trimmer to clean off any unwanted body hair. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof, and so it can join you in the shower.
Although your balls might look like punching bags, don't treat them like one. The lawnmower is designed to cut hair on loose skin.
Get 20% off free shipping with code to Hotboxin at manscaped.com. That's 20% off free shipping with code Hotboxin at manscaped.com.
It's time to get wet and clean with your new Manscaped shower routine.
I got kicked out of California for a bunch of different crimes that they couldn't find me guilty of. Then I came back and started a robbery crew. So basically, we just kidnap people for a living.
That's enlightening.
And, you know, I was in a crossroad.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I didn't want to sell dope no more.
Yeah.
But at 21, 22, I didn't have no other means of income. I'd already amassed, I had 2 little brothers in private school. I had so many pieces of property all over the place trying to pay for that. Mm-hmm. So now I'm stuck with all this debt monthly. It's like, shit.
I gotta do something.
I gotta figure something out. So it was to the hustle. And what I knew best was the gun.
This is another installment of Hotboxin. I'm Mike Tyson. This is my host over here, Bass. And we have Big U as a guest. Talk to us, Big U.
Big U.
Hey, man.
Big U. You know, ex-Crip, activist now. Tell us your story.
All around humble guy, no.
That's a start.
I'm pretty much like most people from LA. You know, we came from a gang past, like yourself, ran the streets. Started off early, started going to jail about 14. No, my first time getting shot was 14. Mm-hmm. And really kind of like found the streets. Mm-hmm. And I got kicked out of California for a bunch of different crimes that they couldn't find me guilty of. So they kicked me out of California. I went to Chicago for a while. Then I found my way back to LA, 85, 84, 85. Cocaine was at the height at that time. And so, you know, dove into that. Got a lot of money into that. Went back to jail 86, 85, 87. Had a lot of terrible cases. Ended up luckily beating those. Came out in 87, same thing, went back. Then I left and went to Minnesota for a little while. Hustled up there. Feds ran me out of there. Then I came back and started a robbery crew. So basically, we just kidnap people for a living.
That's enlightening.
And, you know, and actually, that's the first time I met you. Like,
tell me about that.
When Jim Brown house.
Oh, yeah.
Jim Brown house. When me, you, and Stone, my big homie with Stone, y'all used to do business.
Like Stone.
Stone was our big homie. That's who I looked up to.
Okay.
So when he got killed, he was the one they put in the newspaper as the leader of the 60s. Mm-hmm. I was supposed to be next, but Stone and Jim Brown was real tight when he started the American program. So that was my first time becoming conscious of being conscious towards stopping the violence. So my relationship with Jim had formed, and I kind of backed up off the streets. Right after that, I cut my hair off, and I met Mr. Louis Farrakhan, who had a great influence on me. Mm-hmm. Of course, I was already born into Islam, but I had took the way off, and so that really brought me back. And so from there, I kind of started robbing because I didn't want to sell dope no more. Because that being 21.
They don't understand that. They don't. I know that sounds weird. I started robbing because I didn't want to sell dope, but I understand that.
Yeah, no, can you go into detail about that though, so people can understand why?
So I read Malcolm X's autobiography, of course, and then I was on the road. I was taking some drugs from Minnesota. Mm-hmm. I used to get the drugs to Minnesota, and I would take them all throughout that little tri-area, Detroit, St. Louis, Chicago, and it was a little hub.
Yeah.
So I'm taking it. I read Malcolm X's autobiography. Then the feds hit in Minnesota about 7 months after that, but I stayed in Chicago studying. Then I came back home, and I hooked up with Dr. Khaled Muhammad, me, Khaled.
You were hitting some licks back then, though, huh?
Oh, yeah, I was killing them.
Yeah, I'm listening to some licks being hit.
Yeah,
Y'all hear these people's names. I'm hearing these licks.
Yeah, no, them
I
names
mean,
huge.
yeah.
Some big names.
Yeah, so I linked up with Dr. Khaled when I came back to LA because he was over 27 at the time. And so me, Khaled, Malik, we hooked up, and I started moving all the brothers through Jim Brown to the nation. And but I like I said, it was kind of like I was in a crossroad. I knew I didn't want to sell dope no more.
Yeah.
But at 21, 22, I didn't have no other means of income. I'd already amassed, I had 2 little brothers in private school. I had so many pieces of property all over the place trying to pay for that. So now I'm stuck with all this debt monthly. It's like, shit.
I gotta do something.
I gotta figure something out. So it was to the hustle. And what I knew best was the gun.
Yeah.
So it was like basically my irrational thought was to rob the dope dealers.
Exactly.
And you know,
And get them.
Listen,
No,
I was telling
we're
all my
smarter, not
friends-
harder.
I was telling all my friends,
Okay.
what are you gonna do? You gonna be on the corner all day, and when you finish up, somebody's gonna rob you.
right.
That's what's gonna happen, right? Your friends are gonna rob you even. And you here all day like a smart waiting for people to come. If the cops don't get you, somebody's gonna get you.
Yeah, that's really pretty much.
Dope man wasn't the man like he is now back then. In the late 70s, early 80s.
So we robbed everybody. I mean, but then like I said, so it really wasn't no real outlets at that time.
Yeah, no, for
You know,
sure.
like you have pretty much now. And so I think I became the outlet
Yeah.
from meeting Jim Brown, Minister Farrakhan, and the studies. And then I
Yeah.
went to prison shortly after that. So I went to prison for robbery and kidnapping.
So your hip hop uncovered doc, how did that come about?
Actually from one of our partners named Jimmy Chris.
Okay.
We were all trying to get some kind of documentary off, get something about hip hop. And Jimmy Chris came up with the idea to do one about bodyguards. So it was really supposed to be about bodyguards and how bodyguards worked in the industry. And then it went to be about managers. And so I had an idea for a documentary that I wanted to call it The Sons of Superfly, not Malcolm and Martin.
Okay.
So I was gonna detail the fact that we grew up in the 60s. I was born in the 60s, but like me and Mike, but we didn't get the influence of Malcolm, Martin, and we actually got the influence of Superfly. So I watched when my uncle and them were really all on the Black Power movement. We was
Jim
babies.
Brown, too.
And then they turned in to Superfly after the Superfly movie came out. So that's still a phenomenon that I wanted to touch on because we kind of got lost in between that. And then you seen the exploitation of black film. Of course, I was a baby, but I could see what that result was. So it wasn't nobody really teaching us, like on the West Coast, how to really become black men.
Yeah.
And so then until I got to prison and started reading and studying myself, I never even knew who Huey P. Newton was, nor did I have no clue on H. Rod Brown, the Soledad Brothers. These are stuff that we learned in prison. George Jackson, like, you know, he was a phenomenal figure that's untalked about. But like, so that's how the documentary came because, so we added what we don't want to do from that to that, and then it kind of started moving up the ladder, and it shaped into what it shaped in, talking about the legends of hip hop, the people who were pretty much untalked about, unheard of. And so, I think we did the deal right before Nipsey got killed. So we had, I think maybe about a month and a half. And so that really kind of helped me again shape it to talk about people who were untalked about or unrecognized in the hip hop industry. So we tried to do that, stay with that. It was pretty successful.
And you kind of mentioned Nipsey, man. Your relationship with him, you want to like talk about that? Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
Where'd you meet him
oh my
at?
God.
Where'd you meet Nipsey?
Nip grew up in our neighborhood. Like, we all come up about the 60s. So my nephew, after I was dealing with Suge, when I came home in 2004, I started dealing with Suge. I dealt with Suge for about the first 3-4 years.
Okay.
And then I felt it was time for me to find my own artist. So I came back to the neighborhood and I started looking for artists, all my little homies. You know, you put the search out, and so from there, my little homie Tiny Draws, called him Shortstop, told me to go find Nipsey. So I'm like, all right, we went and found Nipsey, played some of his music. He played a lot of songs that we loved. I loved immediately. So then I started going back, but he got a song called Keys to the City, where he says Dr. Dre turned him down, everybody turned him down. And then he says, that's in the song he says Big U's an animal, because he tells the story of how he was turned down up until he ran into me. And then I took him to Steve Lobel, amongst a couple of people. Steve eventually took him, introduced us to John Shapiro, which got us signed to Cinematic Epic. And then from there, it just kind of took off. Then it dropped. And then I left the music, and then I started managing Veen Reigns. And then I really was with Veen for about 6 years doing movies. But yeah, no, when I met Nip, man, he was 18, fresh out, and everything in his repertoire was about the hood, RSC. He had a song called RSC. It was Bullets Don't Got No Name. It was Kill 'Em Up, Shoot 'Em Up, Bang Bang. And so I think my influence at the time and where I was at that time helped influence to shape him to where we eventually see him get to, because he became a phenomenal leader. And to see where he came from and the road that we all traveled to get there,
For sure.
in itself was great.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing. You just tell he's an intelligent guy, man. Like,
He always read.
yeah, always.
Yeah,
Dude.
he read all the time. That's why we just sit in my basement. He said in the song, we just sit in my basement and talk about books all the time, because I was a real Miles fan. When I came home in 2004, I wanted to tell everybody had to get out of our neighborhood. So I didn't want no filming in our neighborhood. I didn't want nobody coming leeching off our neighborhood, because everything is Crenshaw. So now, because of the way our community is shaped, we are like the last black enclave in almost California.
Wow.
And so most of the people come to Crenshaw to leech off this black culture. But people don't understand the greatness of the block Crenshaw. From the span of Florence all the way down to King Boulevard, that's always been a rich street. From the Gap Band, from George Clinton, all of them who used to be on Crenshaw, because they couldn't go to Beverly Hills. You didn't have no street in Beverly Hills, so it was Crenshaw. And people don't understand the history that's on Crenshaw. So when I came home, I wanted to push that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because Compton was Compton, Dre and them had Compton, Snoop and them had Long Beach, but we didn't have nothing on our section. So my whole thing was, we from this area. Like, we're going to celebrate us. And then we already had movies with Ice Cube them that celebrated us and talked about us. You had Moesha and all this, but it wasn't a movement that came out of Crenshaw and only pushed our block.
Yeah.
And so that was our intentions, and that was what we were successful in doing.
That's hard. That's hard. So you got a new book coming out.
Yeah, we working on a book. I'm 55 years old, so my story goes so far back. What part do you? It's almost like, what part do you want? And then they ask me stories, and one thing will remind me of something else. You know how your story is. Like, more people can tell you about the shit you did than you can remember.
That's the trip when you have to think back when you were a kid, before you had gray in your beard.
Yeah.
See how far it's like, well, I can't believe I'm here. That's a stupid kid.
I remember when I got a story when him and Stone was flying birds. Stone had birds. And I used to always say, that's why them dudes got them big ass necks. Because they be sitting up there like, watching these birds. Because that's how him and my big homie hooked up.
Yeah.
And he was light skinned with green eyes, about his height, and he flew birds. And when Jim told him that, I was shocked when I came on the block. My homie, he was the first one out of all of us to have a house on 60th.
Yeah.
And he had like 3 pigeon cages.
Yeah.
And I get to his house and bro there.
If you got pigeons, I go anywhere.
Yes. No lie.
My kind of birds, rollers, some real first class birds, I go anywhere. I go to
like
Africa.
Eagles, bald eagles, all them vultures.
No, I'm talking about my rolling pigeons.
Oh, you're rolling.
I go to China to watch them. I go to Africa. I go all over the world. England.
So you've been everywhere and seen pigeons?
Watch, yeah.
Wow. Man, look, my homeboy was paying $30,000 for birds in 90, 89, 90. And I'm like, bro, this is crazy.
The most expensive bird is a 2.1 pigeon.
That's the racers, right?
Racing pigeon.
Yeah.
Most expensive racing picture. It's around $2 million. How much is it?
1.9 million.
1.9 million.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Jeez.
can never let it go. It's gotta breathe it.
It's
Go
gotta
right
breathe
back
it.
home.
And I remember my homeboy used to have, when we grew up, we used to hit pigeon cages.
We call
hit
it tap
cages.
off. New York
You
we call
tap
it tap
off?
off. Yeah, tap them off. Yeah, a nigga kill your little bird.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
in New York, we have a nigga throw you right off the roof, kill you, smash.
Mm-hmm. You hit the wrong
that's $2 million.
Well, no, ours don't cost that
No,
much.
but listen, the passion that we have in it costs more than $2 million. Cause we catch you in trouble.
No lie.
You were killing people for pigeons?
Bro, and then I done seen where dudes that caught somebody in their cage, caught them and beat them and left them in the cage for 2-3 days, then finally let them go. Like, they go crazy about the pigeons.
Listen, I was a young kid, and these white boys, I was trying to steal their birds, but they had an alarm on the coop, so when I came, they heard me. And man, I had to like jump from here. It was just crazy. I could have killed myself. They were beating my ass when they got me. They was gonna throw me off the roof, but I guess the working people down said, "Hey, what's going on up there?" He said, "This guy been trying to steal my bird. If they do it again, I'm gonna throw him off the roof." So they let me go. I said, "Thank God."
That's the truth too, boy. Because in California, we got better weather.
Yeah.
So it was a real big. Like I remember they used to go from place to place, house to house. Like they'll meet at certain times in the morning, and they're driving. And I mean, one time Stone, it was a pigeon hawk.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this man had us up till 5 a.m. to go
Waiting for this nigga, right?
Wait to go climb the tree.
Wait.
Yes, serious, right there at Kenneth Point. First time ever.
Can't sleep, gotta get rid of it.
And they won't live though. Some of those hawks, they would just starve themselves. If you catch them, some of them they'll sit in there and they won't eat.
You're right.
You can't even feed them. It's crazy how they refuse to be in captivity.
That's crazy. No, that's a whole different world. Y'all just brought me to a whole different world. I never heard anything about this till now.
I had some outdoor stuff around this big. I kept 2 hawks in there. They survived, lived, had eggs. It's around this big.
You had to have it big, huh?
Yeah. We kept them in our bird coop. They go in the bird and they get caught in the trap.
Oh, that's how you catch them, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was phenomenal with that. You catching them hawks. It was too big for me.
Yeah, mean looking. When they catch them, they're mean.
When they spread out as long as me.
I don't like birds, not big birds like that.
My friend was trying to grab his feet and he just went right across his beak just like this. Had to force like 6 stitches, come right over, blood. Just went across and didn't even bite it. The bird didn't bite it. He just went across the bird's beak and split his finger right open.
Yeah, I don't fuck with birds, Mike. I don't do that.
That bird's that mean.
So
how big this brother is. We're gonna bring a bird in here next time he get out of line.
Bro.
Listen, bro,
I don't fuck with big birds, dog.
You bring an eagle in here and everybody in here run.
Oh, I'm saying, you bring those big birds, I don't fuck with those.
But an eagle ain't a bird. An eagle is an eagle.
I'm talking about them big birds. I'm talking like what he's talking about, like the hawks.
Yeah, the eagle is big as this.
The vultures. I ain't fucking with that. That's some prehistoric shit.
Hey, what's up, brother? Yeah, man, that's not really good luck.
So, growing up in the streets, right? How, and obviously knowing Nipsey, how pivotal was seeing Nipsey and YG have that union between them?
No, it was great for the culture. It wasn't just them.
Mm-hmm.
It was a message for the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the time, it was kind of getting back rocky with red and blue.
Mm-hmm. So
the union between Nipsey and YG, it helped the culture, it helped young kids from wherever side you was from realize you can have a friend or a partner. So that message was even bigger than just music.
Mm-hmm.
It resonated around the country, but it was bigger for us, for our culture to see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's gravely important, to see what's happening. Because, you see so much travesty in the world, and you see what's going on with Putin and all them. It's
crazy, bro.
So, that union with them two was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely RIP to the great Nipsey, man.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious to hear your opinions on how to stop the violence, man. Like, there's been a couple artists that's been getting killed, like at least 5 I could think of off the top of my head recently, right? So
I don't really think it's. I think each individual situation is different because some may put themselves in a situation, and then the situation may arrive. Everyone is different. It's not like one. You got somebody doing a carjacking, you can say don't do no carjacking. Don't do that.
True.
And you can't tell somebody not to go hustle if they're not hustling. Like Nip's situation is different than Pop Smoke's.
Yeah,
And
facts.
then Young Dolph's situation is different than each one of theirs.
Yeah.
So it's no right way, but I think Nip said it the best. He said that if he changed the energy he put out in his music, so he would get different energy back.
Yeah.
So maybe if we change the energy we put out in our music, it'll help bring more positive energy back. And as you get older, you change anyway. You know what I mean? We all go from a natural stage of growth to not doing what we was doing when we was kids. You know, so I think
It's getting wiser.
yeah, you get some people who don't, but yeah, you get some people that don't. The internet is really powerful. Like this internet is a powerful tool that I think too many people have too much access with their thumbs to do
It's
this
true.
stuff.
It is true.
You know what I mean? You can just get out there.
Yeah, because we don't raise like kids, the internet does. You know? I don't care how strict we are, that kid would take that phone and calls them. It's drugs to them. That's their first experience with an addiction.
Yeah. Because every time my daughter room not clean, first thing I say to her is give me that phone. She up the stairs in the room, clean the room up. But I think I deal with I have my organization called Develop an Option. So we deal with youth violence. So I have one of the contracts in the city to deal with gang intervention. So we deal with I have 21 people who work for me. I've been doing it now for 18 years. So we've been instrumental in dropping the gang violence down in LA tremendously. But we see a different kind of violence.
Yeah, talk about that.
And it's not so much red and blue no more.
Okay.
So like I said, that union between Nipsey and YG, we see where it's more drug related now because we have more kids using drugs, hardcore drugs, or what can be considered prescription drugs than ever before. Because we used to can kind of have it. I think my parents' era was the pill era. That was the Red Devils, all the different things they used to use. Now we're back to that, to where you see a lot of prescription drugs used.
Opioids, Oxycontin,
all that stuff. So right now we deal with something different. So in the schools, we have to watch the Instagram and we have to know which kids are have the most influence. And so you have something like one kid may put up a post and another kid will say, oh, your shoes are dirty. And then that turns into something else if they get 5 or 6 people laughing at them. Now they want to meet and fight at school the next day. And so from them fighting at school, the parents are now showing up at school and the parents are fighting. Like we have this all the time. You know what I mean? So then that turns into something else if it becomes that. And so
everybody's too sensitive now.
Oh man, and this internet is really crazy.
Too sensitive.
Like these comments, it's so many issues over comments in the internet.
Yeah.
Like that's a major.
It's crazy.
It's a major drag in what we do, and we see it coming.
How do we stop that? How do we stop such a
stop comments?
Foe?
I think you got to tell them because
make this shit private.
I mean, because we really deal with that like every single day. We deal with it. Like,
how many suicides you get?
We don't have a lot of suicide, man. I got a lot of kids. You know, it was crazy you say that because I had a 6-year-old. No, how was she 6? A 6-year-old talking about she was just gonna kill herself and get out the way.
Damn.
And you know, you get parents. How do you even deal with that as a parent?
Yeah, that's sad.
You know what I mean? Because it's so much stuff that's on TV, and then they say the rate of black men killing themselves, but the suicide with black men is not just suicide, it's mental illness. So we're dealing with more mental illness now than we ever dealt with before. Like I dealt with my own family, but it's because of these prescription drugs that they don't realize that they're taking. Because you got these young men taking drugs, not realizing that the drugs that they're taking is meant to help somebody who has a mental illness. If you don't have a mental illness and you're taking drugs that's meant for mental illness, don't you realize it's going to cause a mental illness?
I just believe it's just big business.
Oh, yeah.
America is a business country.
Yeah.
Country for business.
And I'm not knocking what nobody do. I just think that what we're not realizing.
Right is right and wrong is wrong.
Right is right, wrong is wrong. What we're not realizing is that these drugs that they taking is gonna have an effect on them.
For sure.
It's not like you smoking marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think marijuana got a bad name, and it's so people equate it with all the other drugs, like real hardcore drugs.
Yeah.
And so it needs to be separated and be isolated. If you're taking certain drugs and it's meant to alter your brain,
Yeah.
it needs to be focused on.
But listen, they tell you right after what can happen, after effects can happen. You can die, you can go blind, you can go. Let you know they're arrogant, because they know you're gonna still take it.
Mm-hmm.
After knowing this is gonna make you blind, bust your guts open, and all that stuff, you still take it.
What is the worst experience you've ever had with the police officer? And obviously, what are your thoughts with the whole George Floyd? Like, where were you when the whole George Floyd incident happened?
Well, my worst experience was like these knots right here, right here, right here, and I think on the back.
You're a big nigga. They want to fuck you.
They thought they didn't know I was grown.
Yeah.
One of my partners did a robbery. He didn't know how to drive the car that he just took. So I knew how to drive a stick. I jump in the stick and I take off. I get caught down the street. They beat the dog crap out of me. When they realized after we get to the station, they put me in there. One of my homeboys, we had just went to Magic Mountain earlier that day, and he was getting arrested. We was all dressed alike. So they had me in a grown man tank. I couldn't see, I couldn't hear nothing.
Wow.
Hair was a balloon, totally discombobulated. And I wake up again, and he in the tank with me. He had told them who I was, and he had told them I was a juvenile. So then after that, that was my worst experience again. Then after I had another experience with him, and this time it wasn't. And then, it kind of worked the other way around. And I ended up. That's how I learned how to fight. That's how I learned a lot about the law, because I ended up catching a case in the county jail on some assaults and some staff. But of course, I didn't have nothing to do with it. But I fought the case nevertheless. So that's when I learned the law. And I like to tell people when I went to prison, I couldn't read nor write. So, but while in prison, I learned how to read and write.
Wow.
And so I had learned the law fighting that case.
Mm-hmm.
But I already had been found guilty and was on my way to prison. So I think it was Tookie. When it was my first time meeting Tookie. Tookie was in this tank behind me, and we was just talking about the law. And he was like, how much you know about the law? And just in that, I think we was there for like 30, 45 days. He had came down to fight a child custody case, or he was coming. I can't remember what he was down there for, but we was talking through the vents. You can talk through the vents from the back. And he was like, man, you need to know your case, know your law. But then, like I said, I just caught that kid, drove me to the law library. And from there, I just feel like now I'm equipped. I can maintain myself when it comes to speaking their language.
Yeah.
Because when they gave me, they sentenced me and they talked about me in the courtroom in a way that, in their language, that I understood. I couldn't understand the word they were saying about it. You know how I feel? They in the courtroom, they talked about me in trial so bad, I wanted to find me guilty. I was like, but the language they were using, I was at a disadvantage.
It was so foreign, yeah.
It was so foreign, but it was actually all the language that we speak. And so I found out about a thing called the Black Law Dictionary. So then I picked up the Black Law Dictionary, and I made that a part of my everyday reading to learn certain words. And so I went on and went to prison after that and did the 13 years. But while I was there, I was a litigator, considered what would be a litigator, because I had already knew how to write. And what fails us as young men is that the law is not hard. I think 75% of the law is just a leaflet. And any writ or any motion you want to file is already written up. Write your name, write your case down, and explain a little bit of how it fits you, and submit it. And that's how it goes. But that right there escapes so many of us.
Yeah.
And they teach us that we have to get a lawyer. That was like, my worst experience with them. But while I was in prison, I became so good, I was able to deal with that. But I still ended up in the hole. And they did their thing.
So what's the biggest lesson you probably learned from all of your experiences in life so far?
Reading.
Reading?
Reading. You got to read. And to be honest with you, my biggest experience was another experience from prison. When I first got to prison, of course, when I got there, everybody blessing me. The homies looking out. When I get to the reception, they send me a TV, a radio, a hot plate, and all that. You're not even supposed to have that.
Wow.
So when I got there, like I said, because I had just came out of per tank, I read the Title 15. It's a book they give you on everything you can do and you're not supposed to do.
Okay.
I read the Title 15 because you're in the cell by yourself. And I'm in the cell by myself, waiting to go to orientation. I read the Title 15 and I just remembered it. So after reading the Title 15, they came in my cell when I went to child, took this TV, took everything, and just trashed the cell. And I just wrote a 602 form from memory, from because they wouldn't give me a 602 form, and I just quoted it, wrote it like it would be a law, like you present a 1983 form, which is a civil suit.
Yeah.
And when I was going out to go to child, I slid it under the police door. When I came back, they had a whole bag of everything they took from me. And it was like, we can't give you the TV, we'll give you the radio if you can pull it back. And so at that time, it was my first experience of understanding reading and having knowledge, because that's something they can't never take from you.
Wow, that's amazing. That's an amazing story.
It can break you down, your body can get old, your limbs get tired, whatever have you, but once you read it and you consume it, they can't take that away from you.
So where were you during the whole George Floyd thing? And how do you feel, obviously, about the whole police brutality thing that's going on? That's been going on, honestly. But now finally being highlighted.
I mean, I feel like I'm wavered because I'm just not going to let it happen with me no more. Like, to me, it ain't no getting away with it. And until we fight, it's going to continue to happen. We just seen an elected president last night say he wants to fund the police. Well, that means to him that he'll give the police more money to fight
and kill more black
people. So it's not going to stop until we make it stop physically. But the sublime results that we got from that brother's life being taken are steps in a direction that we need. We need those steps also, but we also need to stand up, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And do something about it, not just talk.
It can't be about talk, though.
Yeah.
Because just to be honest with you, they ain't putting their hands on me. That ain't gonna happen. I'm not letting it go. I'm gonna go the way of George Jackson, Chairman George. I believe in that. You know what I mean? And they won't give us that picture. Mm-hmm. They're not gonna give us Chairman George. Mm-hmm. You know, and his brother,
Jonathan.
Tell
the people real quick who Chairman George is. I think
the Solidaire brother, Chairman George. You know, Chairman George Jackson and Jonathan Jackson. I don't even want to tell you, I think you need to read about them or go and really do some time investigating them, because they influence California prisons. Mm. And so I don't know how prisons or in other places, I've never been nowhere else in prison, but California prison, we do have a little bit of structure. Mm-hmm. And we move in a different kind of way. At least I did. Mm-hmm. So I feel
like Jackson stayed in isolation.
Yeah. He got in isolation after he made his move. Yeah. After he did his demo. He was actually charged with the murder of.
Was it really?
He was charged. That's what the Solidaire brothers about, a murder of a cop who was supposed to have shot another and killed another brother.
That happened when he was in prison, though.
Yeah,
he went to prison for stealing a candy bar they wrote.
Something like that. Yeah, like 70 cents. He ended up doing 11 years. That turned into life. Him dying in prison, and his brother.
He had convinced Jonathan to go on a bank robbery, was it?
No, Jonathan actually kidnapped a judge.
Yeah, that's what it was.
To get him out. But we want to tell the whole story, though. We want the people to have to go research.
Yeah. Go do your research. Do
the research.
George Jackson, he's the first brother that got me conscious.
Mm-hmm. That got you conscious?
He actually gave us names like Stokely Carmichael. He actually gave us names like Angela Davis, because she became famous
I know from running.
And when you research it, you're going to see that that's when her name really took off.
George started talking.
Mm-hmm.
George is a bad cat.
Yes, sir.
Smooth. That's a
Chairman
cool
George.
dude.
So, what are some of the wildest prison stories you got? Like, what's the most crazy story you got?
None of them are pretty, I'm sure.
I don't really have a lot of wild prison stories. I was kind of like, I wasn't the one.
No, people knew.
They
knew not.
Kind of like, it's just conflicts. Like, we had incidents on the yard, on prison yards, and it wasn't nothing really started about me because I sat kind of up there.
Yeah.
And nobody really came to come up there to mess with it. It would be incidents that young fellas would get into not knowing the rules. And when I went to the shoe, I went to the shoe for actually an incident between one guy and my homeboy, rest in peace right now, and I knocked his eye out. And so
I saw that there too. You knocked
his eye out?
In prison.
Yeah.
Wait, you knocked his eye out? Like his eye fell out his eye.
His eye came out. Yeah. We had
what happened? They come out, oh God, my eye was that kind of shit.
I started praying immediately because I knew if I didn't get this case, it was gonna be a life sentence. So I went to the hole. I did 3 years for that. So we had an incident and we ended up getting into it. I caught him with a right, and he went down. His eye was in his hand, and I ended up getting locked up. I got charged with that. I actually stayed in the hole 4 years, so I got out in 2004, so I think I went to the hole like 98, 99, something like that. I got in 2004. But, like I said, that was one that was documented, and then, I paroled 15 days out of that.
Did you know amongst the Cody?
Yeah, I was never been in the same space with Monster. Monster was like the folklore to us. I'm 3 years younger than Cody. You know what I mean? And so we was always looking to get a name off of Monster.
He's always right being in prison. When we both was in prison, he used to write each other.
Yeah, I seen that somewhere. He used to write Tupac. Cody was an enigma, man. If he could have stayed straight, he'd have been a mark. I look up to him. I got a lot of respect for him.
Some people just can't live out here.
Yeah.
This world's a trip for some people's mind.
Yeah. It's that challenge. What he's talking about is we got homies who can navigate while they're in prison, incarcerated, because that
you ever seen his penmanship?
Yeah, I seen some of his writing.
Ooh.
Yeah, I seen him his writing. He was very intellectually stout, but when he came here, the discipline of not dealing with, falling to that crave, he couldn't handle that. He couldn't master that. But he was a great adversary because he was an adversary to us. So he was a gangster. We was the '60s, and he was a legend.
Sure.
Can't take that from him.
That's amazing. He used to write to you, Mike, you said?
Yeah, we made each other.
Fire.
He was trying to recruit Mike.
For real?
No,
no, wait, time out. You out here, time out. Can we talk about this man knocking people's eyes out? Why didn't you box?
Why'd you do that,
Why didn't you box?
That was wrong.
This man knocking niggas eyes out and shit like it's casual.
I was boxing. I was boxing, but I grew up in martial arts, though.
So you should have been fighting, man. You should have been fighting.
I boxed. I boxed first. Then I grew up martial arts. I boxed, I did wrestling, I did all that. So I was really kind of cheating. I was like Mike. So when I went up against dudes in the streets, it wasn't
nothing.
No, it was
you knew different. What the time was.
It was cheating. Yeah. Like Mike could tell you, if he go up against a dude right now, if a dude throw a punch, he gonna be looking like, damn, I could do like 5 techniques.
Yeah, I can see all this shit coming a mile away.
You know what I'm saying? And then with me, opposite of Mike is I knew 3 differences. I did martial arts, and he was a master at boxing. I wasn't as good as boxing as he was, but I was good at a lot of the other things. And then being 6'3", you know what I'm saying, and it was different.
Yeah, it is different.
So we was taught to fight multiple people, so we would go in, train to fight, and doing that. Because then I cheat though, because I'm gonna put your eye out.
Hey, that's what Bruce Lee said too.
Ain't no fair ones in these streets.
Ain't no fair ones.
Bruce Lee said the same thing. He said, "Do you ever think about?" They asked him, "Do you ever think about grappling before?" He said, "Why would I think about grappling? When I think about grappling, that means I'm on the floor." He said, "Yeah, that's what it's about." He said, "But I'm fighting 4 people though. You can't be on the floor and you're fighting 4 people." Damn.
Our thing is, my whole thing is, ours is you got 3 seconds to get him out of there. So we was taught, what you gonna do to get him out of there? I'm finna cut you. So I'm gonna do all kind of shit.
You know how long
put
3
my hand in your
Wait,
eye.
speaking of that,
You know how long 3 seconds
is it true that you've been shot 7 times? I was
Yeah.
reading that.
Fuck you. God
What
damn.
7 times?
Yeah, my first I was 14. 14 or 15, I was in the Broadways. I was with Cubone. You know Cubone? I was with Cubone.
Why am I shaking his head like that?
I was with Cubone.
Well, don't fuck around.
You don't
What did he
know.
do?
No, Cubone didn't shoot me. We was all together.
I was like, what they were shooting after him, huh?
No, they was shooting at me. They was shooting at us. And I ended up getting shot. So yeah, I've been shot 7 different times. 7 different instances. My first time was here, here, all the legs.
Oh shit!
You should be grateful to be walking.
Yeah. All the legs,
That's
both legs,
crazy.
all different times, all these bullet wounds.
What?
Yeah. This one was an AK that came through the car door and then hit my cousin. So he driving and it came through the door, through my leg, out here. This was this big. And it just and hit him in the side.
Worst feeling in the world, huh? Or worst pain in the world, I can imagine.
Nah.
Yeah,
No, this one was. This one through the finger was
I got
the
something
worst.
like this, but this ain't because of getting shot.
No, this one. Because it's no bone. What they tell you is it's no meat.
That must have been exciting.
So it's all bone and tendon.
It's all bone and tendon. And I'm screaming, get to the hospital.
It's hot, huh?
Hot, hurt.
Let's talk about now all the amazing things you're doing right now as an activist in the community. Could you go into that?
Well, like I said, developing option, man, we have been instrumental in California in dropping the gang violence
Yes, that's what you see.
to the lowest it's been
Yep.
in history. We have seen a rise since COVID because COVID is such an oxymoron and it got people in the house and now they're trying to come out and then when you give all these people this PPP money, you put more money into an economy and then now you drive it, but then it drops. So we see more robberies happening but we have enjoyed not seeing the gang violence rise. So now, like I said, we're looking at the violence differently. So over the years, I've had about 9 of our boys come out of my program that's made it to the NFL.
Oh, wow.
I'm very happy about that. We put over 400, 500 kids through college, in college and out, because I've been had it 18 years. And so we do the biggest banquets in history.
And make sure you let these people say it again, let those people know. All these millions of people say it again.
We do the biggest banquets in history for our kids. We have multiple kids in college. I got my youngest son just graduated from Reno, Nevada. I got Dixie State, one at Dixie State, one at UCLA. Like I said, my son at Reno just went to Washington, UCLA, and all of them come out of our program. So we have football, track, we have a travel basketball league. We haven't been able to get that back started. We wouldn't know Kanye to do what he's supposed to do. We have enjoying a great deal of success with coming helping kids mature and helping kids reach out to what they want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, that is amazing, man. Mike and I just want to commend you, man. That's amazing. Just giving back to the community, man. And just doing being you, man. It's amazing to see, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
big you.
Big you,
Yes,
man.
sir.
It's big you, baby. Big you.
It's amazing, man.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all having me, man.
No,
to be honest with you.
Thank you for coming, man. We really
The world champion over here.
I'm all right.
World champion.
I'm all right. But, well, there you have it, folks. That is Mike Tyson. I'm Sebastian Joseph-Day.
This is Big You.
And this is Hotboxin. We out of here.
Peace.